And welcome to Unapologetic Geek Out, or the UGO podcast. I am so excited to be Princess of Power, but before that, we have our own Princess of Power on the mic here. Patience, say hi.
Hello! I love being a Princess of Power. That makes me so happy.
Thanks for coming on and joining us once again, Patience.
So do we have to give her like a princess name? Should be Patience Rella or something?
Patience Rella. It has to be on the nose as the She-Ra names are. Like the mermaid one is Mermista or something. So Patience would have to be Goria or
Goria
or Horestra. Oh no, wait, that makes her sound
Horestra.
Nope.
That sounds like a medication. Horestra. Like that sounds like a STD medication.
If your cramps don't clear up in 24 hours, please comment to your doctor about Horestra.
Common side effects Horestra are itching, scratching, and giant lights making you into giant other women and meeting other princesses of power.
Anal seepage.
and anal seepage. Speaking of anal seepage, I am Nick the Merc with a mic. The own anal seepage of this podcast, apparently. And of course, my other itchy, scratchy fever symptom of the podcast here. Travis, say hi.
Hi.
The god of the unclean pod today.
Don't like it.
I love it.
Guys, how we doing?
It can't be better, actually. I don't have anal seepage, so today's a good day.
Yeah,
sure.
Every day is a good day when you don't have anal seepage.
That's how I judge my days as well. The anal seepage scale. Today's a 4. Today's a 4.
Out of what?
Not bad.
Yeah. 4 out of 5 or 4 out of 10?
What, is higher better or lower better? I'm confused.
I'm going to leave that up to your imagination.
Oh boy.
Just
oh boy.
Fine.
Wow.
Anyway, we have some interesting news today in the geek related world, and of course we have our She-Ra review to get to. We want to get into the just how we doing, what are we watching, what are we unapologetic about this week? That should be the new segment. What are we geeking out about unapologetically this week? Anyone have anything?
I apparently have to find a new social media website to go onto.
Because Tumblr is
dying. Tumblr
has decided the bold move to eradicate porn, I guess.
No.
If
it was just porn, that'd be fine, but they're incompetent, so it's not.
Okay.
For one thing, it's anything that's considered like basically anything not safe for work, yes, but it's also like female presented nipples. A literal thing they have posted on there. Female presented nipples.
Male nipples are still okay?
Male nipples are fine.
Well, they haven't gone off the deep end then, because I can still see my Ryan Reynolds Tumblr pics then.
No, because you can't even do that, because they're so shitty at programming. Like, they are top tier incompetent, that they basically have a bot going around trying to decide what's not safe for work. Mm-hmm. And it's everything. Everything is not safe for work. Nothing is safe. They are like... They basically have... This robot cannot tell the difference between a naked woman and a dune on a beach. Mm-hmm. I'm not joking. Like, literally.
To be fair, I've seen dunes that have looked suspiciously like breasts.
Yeah.
That turned me on. I mean, it's... Me and the Twitter bot have the same thing about dunes. Real turn-ons for us.
But the problem is that I can go right now, and if I type into the Tumblr search bar boobs, it'll show up nothing. If I type in white nationalist, tons of things will still pop up.
Wow. Yeah.
So, to save our children, hide the porn, but keep the Nazis.
Well, I mean, America's always been weird about how we treat sex and everything, and what is considered free speech and whatnot.
Well, apparently some of this is actually Apple's fault, at least partially. There's apparently like a little bit going around right now that Apple might actually being sued under like First Amendment rights, because they keep like basically banning anything that's they consider porn. Mm-hmm. And some people are thinking that's part of the reason why Tumblr is doing it, because Tumblr had way too many problems. Like, they had so many... there's so many porn bots on Tumblr. Mm-hmm. And a lot of pedophilia on Tumblr.
What?
And basically, like, most of the user base was like, hey, can we get this solved? Apparently their resolution for this was, yeah, we're going to get rid of everything. Nope, that's not what we wanted. Mm-mm.
Well, you can always come to Reddit. Reddit, there's literally dozens of us.
Literally dozens of us.
Well, so many.
I mean, I do have a Reddit, but
I do not. I do not have a Tumblr either. I will not be reblogging this. Nailed it. Pretty sure that's the term, right?
Yes.
Got it. Okay, cool. I think we might be seeing a lot of that and a lot of struggling with a lot of these other platforms and stuff, because I think in Europe they were doing they just passed something in regards to YouTube and visual copyright.
Yeah, no, that's bad too.
And there's a lot of struggling now going on, especially with what do you call it?
Copyright.
Yeah, and the FCC coming down with net neutrality and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see how the internet reacts and reshapes. And
well, it's definitely a control thing. It's people there's a lot of people in the world that don't want this freedom of information really to happen because it's bad for their power's sake. It's
interesting to see what. Like you said, like the white nationalist things seem to be a thing that we all just accept as, well, freedom of speech or whatever. And then like arbitrarily everything else is subject to whatever rules that publisher, because like it's not even like I was watching something on Netflix, I think Hasan Minhaj's new show, where the publisher, like these social media platforms have the all the advantages of platforms, but or have all the advantages of publishers, but are treated like platforms, in which they're not responsible for anything that they're not. You can't sue them for what a user puts on, like what a user puts on Twitter. You can't sue Twitter itself.
Right.
But on the flip side of that, they can monitor and
stop anyone from doing something.
And yeah, their criteria for content is whatever they want.
Right.
So it's interesting to see what stays and what goes in consideration for that.
But there's also the fact that there's nothing in the law that stops, like, porn. Like, pedophilia, sure, but not porn. Whereas most things that white nationalists say would be considered hate speech, which is not protected.
Right. Well, I'm sure that it's always gone well against anyone who's ever gone against porn. Yeah, they've always seemed to have won. Like, I mean, we all use Betamax now for sure. Like that was our platform, or Laserdisc or whatever the fuck it was. Like, I think like it's an interesting thing to ponder. Patience, did you have
one of the things though is I know that like one of the main things that a lot of people are like, well, I have user created content here that I don't know if it's going to be flagged or not because Tumblr's terrible. And a lot of websites have basically come up saying like, hey, come join us, including once again the like number one star of the internet of being just open with everything is Pornhub.
Yeah. Pornhub.
Basically they're like, hey, we don't just take videos, we take everything. Come on over here.
Yep. If Sense8 wasn't going to get a final season, we were going to take care of that shit.
That's so
Pornhub has got your back.
Pornhub really does.
And your front.
And your insides and your butthole.
Pornhub does not judge where you want it to get you. I've got you.
It'll get you there.
Yeah, it'll get you there. Patience, have you had any trouble with your porn habits at all?
No, because I, again, stick to Reddit, and all of my porn needs are perfectly, like, if you can think of it, it's like Rule 34, right? If you can think of it, there's probably a subreddit dedicated to it. Sure, it might not have a whole lot of subscribers or a lot of activity, but it's there. You'll find it.
Gotcha.
If you go deep and dark enough.
Go deep. I'm going to run past that one. Have you watched anything or anything in your pop culture radar that you're excited about recently?
Oh, shit. I've just been so busy watching ghosty movies for Deliberations of Doom that I've been swamped because between, like, the holidays, so yeah, not really. I have been surrounding myself as much as possible with, holiday cheer. because I do like to decorate for the holiday season, and I like to also bake. So I've been watching a lot of Holiday Baking Championship on Food Network. I know, shut up. Horror.
We didn't say anything.
Horror and baking, you guys. Those are my things. That's what I like the most.
So we should really make a horror baking show, is what you're saying.
I think there's one on Netflix right now.
Yeah, there is one on Netflix with puppets. I've been told.
Friend of the pod, Mick Ignis, is on that show, so I'm actually curious to watch it. I think it's the Confections of
something
Christine McConnell or something.
Yeah, I think it's Christine McConnell. I think you're right about that. And and there's like puppets. So yeah, I gotta check this out because I mean horror and baking. I think I need to put that on Pornhub.
Indeed. It'll be an interesting new tag. The foodies and puppet files will love it. I had the distinct pleasure of watching the Robin Hood movie this week.
Oh boy. God.
Guys,
oh no.
The Robin Hood, the 2018's Robin Hood might be the greatest trash I have ever seen. In quite some time, at least in this year, it might be my favorite bad movie.
Wow.
All the things you've heard about the unsubtle political allegory and metaphor are all 100% true. The unsubtlety of which is staggering. Like the opening sequence of the Crusades is met with Robin and a bunch of people going, and a bunch of his squad clearing houses doing door-by-door checks with longbows, like going in them and checking them like they're M16s. And they're even wearing like what looks like bulletproof vests as body armor, and their sleeves are like there's no sleeves. No one has a fucking sword in the Crusades.
So what time is this movie set?
It's like a made up, like it's so weird. It feels like
the Crusades were between 1100 and 1300 BCE. Or
right.
no, CE.
Robin Hood,
sorry, CE.
Yeah, it feels like this could be a fictional, like just a fictional timeline movie of like it's in his own universe.
So you expect it to be on the History Channel of Gotham?
Well. And even, like, they even give him, like, oh, your longbow, like, Little John gives him, like, it's like, oh, your longbow is not going to cut it for close quarter combat. You need a street weapon. You need a short bow. And I'm like, yeah, if you're going to, I mean, using the bows like guns, like, to clear out door-to-door stuff in Iraq is dumb anyway, and not how the Crusades were fought.
No.
Like, but if you're going to do that, then at least have them, like, they have longbows that are as big as them. Like, it's like, what is happening? And then the crossbows that the enemy uses to shoot at them, they have like legit machine guns fire sound effects that they use.
Oh,
just in case you did not get what they were doing. Like, just in case, like, hey,
listen.
Do you get this as Iraq? Yeah, I got it. Are you sure? Yes. Yep. Totally got it. We can make it more explicit. I don't think you need to. We'll call in an airstrike. That's impossible. You can't call in an airstrike. No, we're going to do it anyway. How are you doing that? Like,
did they do that?
They did call in an airstrike.
Oh,
I am not kidding. They shoot a flare arrow into the air, and it calls in catapults to rain rocks down at that specific location, and they explode like it is like they're missiles.
I mean, how terrible a person am I that I kind of want to take my conservative father to see this?
Dude, take everyone to see this movie. This movie is amazing. Like, I legitimately, I sat there in my seat, my mouth agape. I was like, I cannot believe I am seeing this right now.
That's awesome.
Like, I'm so sad I went to go see it by myself because I was like, if this is bad, I don't want to drag Travis to it. Halfway through, I regretted my decision so much because I was in the theater with like 5 other people, and I knew me and Travis could have just gone the whole time just back and forth like, oh my god, did you see this? Oh my, yeah, I cannot believe this is happening. Like, and
I'm kind of disappointed too, actually.
I'm speechless, to be honest.
I might actually go see it again, like if you're up for it, because it is that level.
Honestly,
of like
I think I could survive it.
I couldn't take my eyes off it. I was never bored. Like, if
give me some popcorn, I'll make it through it.
Also, Jamie Foxx has, like, an accent that is... I don't know what his fucking accent is. It is crazy. Like, it's kind of Middle Eastern, sometimes kind of English that drops back out. Sometimes he's just speaking with a Shakespearean lilt. Like, I was like, what is fucking happening?
Well, I have off tomorrow if you want to go see it.
Also,
you're selling me right now. You are selling me.
Also, Will Scarlet, people have been making the Hillary Clinton comparison to him because Will Scarlet is the politician that is trying to meet them halfway by using going through the government and legal matters to try and oust the sheriff. And it's supposed to be an obvious Hillary Clinton metaphor, but for me, I could not actually stop seeing Harvey Dent from Dark Knight because this movie they make Robin Hood Batman even more than the CW show Arrow does. Like, they actually put in part of his backstory that, like, you need to pretend to be part of the nobles and go and pretend to be a billionaire playboy and to get close to them.
Okay.
And he does the Bruce Wayne thing.
Yeah.
Of, like, what? Like, he's leading the double life. He even has a moment where he comes back to Maid Marian, who is now hooked up with Will, Harvey Dent style. Like, I swear to God, and they have a standoff scene of like, oh yeah, I guess you're with her now, and it's like, it's right out of the Dark Knight, where I think the staging of the shot is the exact same, with only it switches out Christian Bale and Aaron Eckhart with two English guys I don't care about. And if that wasn't enough, I swear to God. Okay, so spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen Robin Hood yet.
Okay, la.
Because I'm going forward, like, I'm going to talk about how Will's story ends up, so skip forward a couple minutes if you don't want to know. But okay, so here it goes. So if you possibly could think of this movie without thinking about Harvey Dent in The Dark Knight, he manages to see them, Robin and Marion hooking up in the third act.
Okay.
And he's like, oh no, I've lost her. What am I going to do? And then he gets knocked out while he's holding a Molotov cocktail, and he falls into the Molotov cocktail, and he burns half of his face.
Oh, that's great.
He burns half of his, and he comes up later in The Stinger as a fucking supervillain, like as the new sheriff, going like, aha, I am now... through my baptism of fire, I now know Robin Hood must be destroyed. Even though he led part of the revolution, like a couple days ago, they elect him sheriff for whatever reason.
Jeez Louise.
And I was looking around at strangers when that happened. Like, what the?
Did you see that? Did you see that right now?
Holy shit! Like, I couldn't believe it because I was thinking, I was like, man, this is really. Because I had the thought of, like, this is very Two-Face. Like, this is so Two-Face. And then he falls into the Molotov. Two-Face. And I was like, no way! They did it! Holy shit! Like, this movie is from 2009, where people were still trying to rip off the Dark Knight so hard. And yet, like, they're so shameless about it. Like, oh, man.
That's amazing.
I love it.
I love this movie. Like, this terrible fucking movie.
Well, it's an awful movie, so of course you love it.
Oh, man. So bad. Anyway, if no one else has anything else, I did want to bring up a couple of news stories I wanted to talk about.
All right.
So, we're all a fan of Stranger Things here, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Well, it turns out Stranger Things, like, while the Telltale game that it was supposed to get might not be happening anymore, it is going to get a 16-bit video game coming to all consoles.
Huh. Oh. That's interesting.
Okay.
I would prefer if it was a more Telltale style, because that reminds me of Dragon's Lair. But, or just having a strict Dragon's Lair Stranger Things would be pretty cool.
That would be kind of fun.
That would be fun.
To go off season 2. But, still, kind of fun. They have, do you remember a show called Celebrity Deathmatch?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, of course.
That was on MTV. They are bringing it back, baby.
Yeah, what? Nothing ever dies.
That's like claymation.
Being revived by MTV.
Stop motion
and Ice
animation.
Cube, of all people.
What?
All right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad to see him doing something other than wholesome television shows. Get back to its roots, do something deathy.
Yeah. I remember my favorite final battle was between NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys, where they jumped into a giant mecha and fought each other.
Love it.
They jumped into giant mechs like for I can't remember why, but
because reasons.
Like one of those, like, you know, the Ring of Fire type things where it's like a cage match and they can't get out and they're only, you know, what is it?
Only one survives.
Well, yeah, I'm thinking like how many are on each, so 10 men enter, 1 man leaves, and it was probably Justin Timberlake, I'm assuming, was the winner.
And I was wondering this too, and the article does state that Ice Cube was in an episode of Celebrity Deathmatch, or like he was represented in a episode of Celebrity Deathmatch where he versed rapper actor Ice-T.
What? Oh, clearly Ice-T would have won that. Ice-T's a fucking pimp, man.
It ended in Ice Cube's victory following a run-in by Vanilla Ice.
Oh, for the love. So many ices.
Well, ice, baby. Oh man. No. It's dun.
Oh yeah, because otherwise it's under pressure, right?
It's very different.
And then you get copyright sued.
So the Avengers 4 trailer dropped as well. Did anyone watch it?
I did not.
I have. I'm trying to I try to avoid trailers but I heard that it doesn't really show that much, so maybe I will watch it.
Yeah, it doesn't show a whole lot.
Hello?
But it does reveal,
Hello?
where Iron Man is at after the events, and just basically a bunch of people around looking sad.
Shocking.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, if we wanted to do a little bit of the trailer talk here for Infinity War, I would say that it looks interesting. All the Avengers are basically just looking sad, and I see Hawkeye in his Ronin outfit, which is cool for all those deep cut Hawkeye fans. And it has the new title Endgame, which was the title that they were all like, "Oh, we don't want to spoil it for anybody." Which was just like...
Is Endgame a reference to a comic?
It probably is.
Okay.
I think there might have been an event called Endgame, but it's so generic that I doubt, like...
Yeah.
This
doesn't start with an R.
I expected it to be like Secret Invasion or something like that.
That'd be a bit too on the nose, wouldn't
it? Well, I mean, if you're spoiling something with a title, it would have to be related to a specific event.
Fair.
Like if they didn't want to spoil it, like the next Civil War or Civil War II or something, that would have been something. But like I don't know what they could have said that would be consistent as a spoiler.
Endgame, the sequel to Ender's Game.
Yep, but people were pissed about it because when the fans wanted the new Avengers trailer, and then like a couple days before they got the second Miss Marvel trailer, and they were all up in arms about it. Like fuck you, we wanted the Avengers 4 trailer, just being generic kind of asshole fans about it. I did see the new Miss Marvel trailer as well. Did anyone else catch that?
Nope.
No.
I saw bits and pieces of it. I'm kind of digging Brie Larson as Captain Marvel, man. She looks like she's gonna kick some butt. And
by way of Super Saiyan abilities.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Exactly. Like she's the ultimate power of the universe. And, I am really stoked to finally, and I was talking about this the other night, I'm really stoked to finally get like a standalone female action, comic book hero movie.
Right.
And everyone's like, well, what about Wonder Woman? I was like, Wonder Woman doesn't count.
What about Wonder Woman?
Nobody cares about DC.
Well, Wonder Woman was pretty good. I liked, we all forgive the third act being generic Snyderverse bullshit, but like, it has, as well as one of those biggest, like, greatest second act, like, I feel like the No Man's Land sequence is fucking awesome.
Yeah, but how long before it gets taken over in box office by Venom anyway?
It's already lost. Venom is getting a fucking... They're re-releasing it in China. It's getting an extended release in China.
That's actually gonna probably push it ahead a little bit in the revenue.
People are digging Venom, and I am
not.
I find it funny.
How you feel about Venom, I feel about Robin Hood, I think.
Okay.
Of, like, just...
Well, none of us have seen Aquaman yet, which is not getting a press release, funny enough.
No, but it is being released early on Amazon Prime?
What?
Is it?
I heard it's being like a week early on Amazon Prime.
Really?
I swear I heard that.
Did not hear that.
That's weird.
Okay. That was all the news I had, though. Did anyone else have anything they wanted to bring up before we go into a game of Stranger Than Fanfiction?
Let's play.
Amazon Prime members can see Aquaman a week early at participating cinemas.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, okay.
That's so weird.
Because it really, the Amazon didn't do that for Wonder Woman, like the one that they would tie into.
Well, there's apparently been previous partnerships in 2017 of Jumanji and Hotel Transylvania 3. So it looks like it's not a super like regular thing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
did you hear the stories about? I don't want to speak to rumors or anything, but it sounds like Jason Momoa is kind of a dick on set to work with.
Yeah, I heard that. Like, very pigtail pulling kind of bullshit.
Well, yeah, with his co-star, I forget who's playing.
Ariel.
Who's playing the red-haired chick? Mira. Damn it! But she likes to read on set, I guess. Mm-hmm. And he was ripping off, like he would rip out the last couple pages of the book or whatever to fuck with her.
Yeah, if someone did that to me, I'd kill them.
Well, there's one thing of like hiding the book or something, or and then like giving it back, like, aha, that's kind of like a prank or a friendly prank. Ripping it off is like, hey, you damaged my property, like pay for that. What the fuck? I mean, it's not like Jared Leto level, but still, like, kind of a dick move,
kind of
guy.
Pathetic.
Like, so that was, I'm not sure if everyone was invested in Jason Momoa being a nice guy or anything, but. I found that to be disappointing.
It kind of makes me sad, though, a little bit, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it does seem kind of bro-y.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. So should we just do what I hope is just going to be one of our recurring segments, the Stranger Than Fanfiction?
Sure.
All right, does anyone have any...
Stranger Than Fiction.
All right, we'll do a round of, like, everyone will pick, and we'll go around here, I think. Does anyone want to go first? Who has a good pick that they think?
Have to think here.
We'll have to go on the honor system that we haven't looked it up beforehand, I guess.
Not gonna bother that. How about Young Justice?
Young Justice?
Yes.
I don't know, Patience, have you seen Young Justice?
I have not.
It's like Teen Titans, basically.
Okay, so it's like a Young Justice League kind of a thing?
Young Justice League, yeah.
Okay.
Robin, Blue Beetle,
so basically the sidekicks.
Beast Boy, Cyborg, Wonder Girl, like all the sidekicks, yeah.
Okay, my DC game is not good, but I'll try.
You can give it a try?
This will be more of a Nick thing then, I guess.
Okay. Let's see. Young Justice.
Yep. Who do you think is the top pairing then for Young Justice?
I actually might want to try and pick a straight pairing. I think Miss Martian and Superboy are actually kind of a pretty good fodder for fanfiction-y picks. Like the two Martians, the two aliens that are kind of like a romance. Like the one's taciturn, one is cute but shy. Mm-hmm. Like one's kind of broody and questioning his own mortality. There's all that going on. Or like even like the Wally and Artemis thing is kind of like the angsty version of that. So I actually think like the straight pairings might be the way to go. I'm going to go. Superboy and Miss Martian, I think.
All right.
What do you think, Patience?
Oh, crap.
Travis, are you going to guess, or did you already look it up?
I've looked it up already.
Can I go villains, or...?
Sure, you can go villains. Kind of a crapshoot on whether or not they even show up in Young Justice, since the Young Justice will feature all DC villains.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so you go ahead, Travis. I'm gonna pass on this one.
Okay. So it's more of a Nick thing then.
Well, I get like, what would have been your guess if you had gotten a? What do you
I
think?
thought I would have guessed something similar to yours.
Yeah.
Your guess is actually fourth place.
Damn.
Connell and McGann are fourth place with 323.
I should have gone gay.
If you would have went the other straight guess, Artemis and Wally, that's second place actually.
Damn!
With 995.
I should have gone with Angst.
Yep.
That was my mistake.
But beating out with just a little bit more than 50 is a gay pairing of Dick Grayson and Wally West.
Oh,
really? Yes. I didn't see that one coming,
Grayson.
actually. And then the third, actually, it's interesting because the third one, in between what you guessed, the gay sandwich here, is actually Bart Allen and Jaime Reyes.
Nice! The bromance becomes a regular romance. I like it.
So Dick Grayson and Wally West had 1,043 fix.
All right. Patience, you like to pick a genre or category?
I'm gonna go. So I went Voltron last time, right? So yes. I'm gonna go with. Can we do? All right. This is a little obscure. Can we do like 80s classic horror movie villains?
I don't think there is a category for that we can look up and make a guess for.
Damn it.
We'd have to look them up individually to see who had more, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And that might take a little bit more time, so...
Yeah, you pretty much have to keep it with, like...
Keep it to a specific show or movie universe or something. Like, if you want to do the Friday the 13th universe or something, that might be...
No, because then it's just Jason and against other Jasons.
Yeah.
Sorry, the thought of that made me laugh. Okay, alright, so let's go G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe?
G.I. Joe?
Yeah.
Alright, let's do it.
You want to talk about, like,
before either of us look it up, we'll try and guess it.
I really don't have it, because I don't...
Right, you never watched G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Okay.
What? Okay.
I will go with the classic of just Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow.
Oh, that's classic, without a doubt.
I would say that. I also guess with like the movies, I would assume Duke and what's his name? Roadblock. The one that's played by Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Okay.
Oh, I think I'm pretty sure it's Roadblock.
Is it Roadblock? It's Roadblock.
Alright, so Patience, do you have a guess for this one then?
I was thinking of doing... Oh, jeez. Yeah, I was gonna... See, I think you kind of stole my Storm Shadow and Snake Eye. Can we go... Yeah, I'm gonna go with... Who is... Okay, so... Anyone and Channing Tatum.
He's Duke. Channing Tatum's
Duke. Who played Bruce Willis's character? Which guy was that? Even though that's like the movie, not the...
Whose character? What?
Because Bruce Willis was in the second one, right?
I think he was the original G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Like, he was the original Joe. I don't know if he had an actual name. I'd have to look it up.
I don't think he did have an actual name, now that I think about it.
I think he might have been just made up for the movie.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with Rex and the Baroness.
The what?
The Baroness.
The
Baron. Oh, okay, the Baroness.
Yeah, the badass chick.
Gotcha.
And then, like, the guy that was played by Joseph Golden Rabbit. The Doctor.
Just Gordon Rabbit. that one was Cobra. He was Cobra Commander.
Yeah. Joseph Golden Rabbit.
I love how you picked this category and yet, like, you are all over the place with who is who.
I know. I'm sorry.
You...
I was put on the spot here, people. I'm sorry. I was not prepared for this.
Well,
next week we're going to do Stranger Than Fanfiction again, and you have a whole week to think about it.
I promise I will prepare better. And then right. Travis has never seen G.I. Joe, which totally sucks. So I need to know beforehand what he has and has not seen.
Well, just message us. We'll let you know.
Okay.
But G.I. Joe, I'm looking at the G.I. Joe all media types on AO3. It only has 244 works.
What?
So, yeah, not a very popular fandom. I'm not sure if there's a different one that has more. The cartoon one specifically only has 105. So, not a big fanfic community for G.I. Joe, unfortunately.
That sucks. What was your choice, Nick?
Mine was what did I pick? Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
No, I mean, what's your genre?
Oh, I see. Did I?
They're actually like Shanna Scarlett O'Hara and Snake Eyes is the top one with 20.
20. Okay, it's not a great.
That's really terrible.
Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th place with 9.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So at least you're on the board.
See, I feel like
I'm on the board.
we would have had a better chance of like Chucky and Freddy.
There's just no. I mean, it would be hard to search out the tags for that. So, there'd be a lot of prep work for Stranger Than Fanfiction. But we'll try and finish it off strong with mine here.
Okay.
I wanna know the top pairing for the Fast and the Furious franchise.
Oh shit, that's easy. It's.
Okay.
Well, obviously, it's like Pablo, Paul Walker, and Vin Diesel. So, like, Dominic and what is Paul Walker's character's name? Damn it. Can't remember. Brian. Dom and Brian.
Brian O'Connor.
Yeah, Brian. I didn't even look that up now.
Jess, can you find the tag for just Fast and Furious movies? Because I keep finding them individually.
For some reason, my browser just crapped out.
Or is it like it's Letty and what is his sister's name?
Because I've gotten to the Fast and the Furious, but it says just 2001, so I think it's only the one film that they're talking about.
Maybe franchise.
Yeah, I have Fast and Furious series.
Series?
Yep.
Okay, got it. All right. My guess. What'd you guess,
Well,
Patience?
I said Dom and Brian. Yeah,
Right, which would be the obvious one.
But my backup would be like Letty and the sister's name, who is played by Jordana Brewster, who I can't.
Jordana Brewster, sure. I don't remember her name either. Who cares? The female, not remember the female names of the Fast and Furious franchise. Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah, right.
They get so much screen time and great character development. Travis, would you like to hazard a guess?
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I don't remember any of their names either.
You can just pick them and I'll try and fill in the names.
I'll help.
I mean, let's go with Vin Diesel's character and Rock's character.
Oh,
Ooh,
Dom
that's nice. I like that.
Oh,
so that's Dom and Hobbs.
Yeah.
Yes. That'd be my guess.
All right, I'm gonna go. I know the top spot is gonna be Dom and Brian. Like I'm pretty sure.
Probably a good guess.
I bet you number 2 though. If I can try and go for the number 2 spot, I'll try Tyrese's character and Brian, which is what is Tyrese's character name? Fuck.
I refuse to look this up right now. It's see, I was thinking maybe Tyrese and Ludacris because they hate each other so much.
Yeah, because they got a little thing going on too. But they're such sub characters that we need to I think to have a high chance on the board, you need a main character in there.
And Brian and Tyrese did all of Fast and the Furious 2 together, so.
Well, I think we should revisit this after the spin-off movie with Hobbs and
Jason Statham,
Shaw, with Jason Statham, because I bet you their fanfics will jump up in popularity too.
They definitely want that prison scene, and we know which one we're talking about.
Yeah, let's see here.
All right, I'm looking it up.
Roman. That's
I just found it like the same time as you.
Got it.
So Roman and
Brian.
Roman and Brian.
Okay, so should I look it up now?
Looking it up. Let's do it.
All right. So top relationship is Brian and Dom.
Okay.
Yep. Good work, Patience. You nailed it.
Okay. It was obvious.
Second, that's with 840.
Nice.
Out of the total number is 1,825.
Wow.
So it is nearly half.
Landslide victory.
Second place, jumping all the way down to 219, is Letty and Dom.
Oh, okay.
Still respectable.
Okay.
Still respectable.
They are
and
dating.
then third place, which is the last one even in the hundreds, is Brian and Mia.
That's
okay.
Jordana Brewster's name.
That's cute.
Mia.
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked Letty and Mia, honestly, but whatever.
I love how we all went gay for that one.
Well, the top one is a gay
How
one,
is there
so
not?
sure.
Where was Hobbs and Shaw on that, though?
I
think Hobbs and Shaw, because Jason Statham hasn't been in enough of the movies yet.
Yeah.
I think Hobbs and Shaw, once we see their spin-off movie and the sexual tension from there, I think that it'll get its time in the sun. It'll get its time to shine.
Did Roman even make any of that?
Ooh, let me see here. Brian and Roman has 48, actually.
Nice. All right, that's considering there weren't that many to start with. That's could
have been worse.
Mm-hmm, could have been worse. And I think I'd beat out Patience's Mia and Letty probably.
Yeah.
But with that, I think that was another successful game of Stranger Than Fanfiction.
Except for my
Maybe didn't ruin as many childhoods as today.
Except for my stupid pick. Next week. Oh, you just wait.
Next week, Patience is going to pick the best one.
Shit, now I'm in trouble.
But this week, we're going to wrap it up here, and we're going to go into our She-Ra review with Elliot. But Patience, we want to let the people know where they can find you and all your other content and stuff on the internet. Would you like to know let the people know where they can find you?
Yeah, as always, you can find me at prof.patience on internet, sites such as Twitter.
On internet.
On internet. Sorry.
On an internet. We're not sure which one, but it's definitely on an internet.
On the World Wide Web. There are these things called social media. I don't know if you've heard of them, but yeah, on
they're awful.
Instagram, which is what I meant to say, Twitter and Facebook, and you can always find me on various shows on oneofus.net, specifically Deliberations of Doom. Doom.
Delayed reaction. I just had to get that big dread. You caught me when I was breathing in. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Payson. We're going to take a small musical break, and we'll be back right after this. And welcome back to the UGO podcast. We are talking some giant ladies today. And when I think giant ladies, I think a whole round of men need to be talking about it. But
middle-aged men at that.
But what kind of man did we get on as our special guest? Why it is the special guest. It is Elliot Fontanette. Elliot, say hi.
Hello.
You'll remember Elliot from our Voltron Netflix and Kill from the previous season. The devil's advocate himself, as me and Travis trashed that season.
Or were we the devil's advocates? I'm not sure at that one.
Y'all were. I think y'all are consensus probably right about that season. I just gave it so much leeway.
All right. Well, we're going to have an interesting discussion about She-Ra because guess what, Elliot? This fucking show, we pretty much like.
Yeah.
Like it's.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't find I personally don't find a whole lot wrong with this show. But before we get into it, Elliot, since you're the guest, would you like to give a little brief description of what the She-Ra Princesses of Power is about?
Okay, so She-Ra, it takes a departure, I think a very good departure and a very needed departure from the He-Man 84, 82 lore, where now She-Ra is not dependent on He-Man. They do mention Grayskull and they do mention Eternia, but this is about She-Ra, also known as Adora, is a member of the Horde. All she knows is she was adopted by I forgot her name. Not Catra.
Oh no, that's her
Shadowbringer.
Yeah, Catra's her best friend. Shadowbringer.
Weaver.
Shadow Weaver.
Shadow Weaver, yeah.
Oh,
she was adopted by Shadow Weaver, raised sort of a child soldier. Something happens and she gets put with the Resistance and she starts finding herself and she starts figuring out, hey, there's something more to all this. She finds that sword. She becomes She-Ra. This all happens in the first episode. And then, you just sort of start seeing them try to reunite the Princess Alliance. And there's a lot of lore and a lot of sort of Marvel idea of magic, which I really appreciate and hope takes off a little bit more, because it's something you saw a lot in Thor and to a lesser extent in Doctor Strange, where the magic is just based in technology. Because let's put it this way: He-Man. Whoever loves He-Man, I loved He-Man when I was 4, and I watched the 2002 series, and I have a Grayskull right now in my house. But it didn't have the best continuity and rules for the world, and this solves a lot of that.
Yes, I would have to agree with that. I really like the aspect of the team building of the Princesses of Power, of that the Resistance has already been going on, and that what's her name? What is actually She-Ra's name?
Adora.
I wanted to say Allura. I'm like, nope. I'm thinking Voltron.
Other show.
And I like that she, has to kind of learn. I do love how she has to learn that, like, we're the bad guys. Like,
which
are we the baddies?
How can you not tell? It's like, again, I said in the show, they call you the evil horde. Who calls us that? Everyone.
I love how no, we're not the evil horde, we're the horde. And I'm like, oh, that's a ton better.
Yeah, that's so much better.
But to be fair, it's like somebody who spends all their time, let's say, on Facebook, and they meet 10 people from Tumblr, and they're like, what do you mean I'm the bad guy? Mm-hmm. Well, you don't like this, you're ableist, it's like, whoa, you're throwing a lot at me here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't know I was evil.
She is indoctrinated, so it makes sense. It's just that most time in, like, indoctrination, at least, like, there's a pretense of, like, no, we're doing the right thing. Like, even some of the other, like, indoctrinated people, like Catra, are like, yeah, we're fucking evil. What? Who cares?
I loved the conversation she has with Catra. It was just like, duh. Like, my whole plan has been to get to the top of this system so I'm no longer oppressed. Where the fuck have you been?
Yeah, and the thing that's so great is, if this was something that was aimed at older children, I would get annoyed at the lack of nuance. But it actually reminds me so much of the first season of Avatar: The Last Airbender. How in that season, the Fire Nation was really just very basic explanation. They invaded because they wanted to rule. Nothing else, no more. And then over time, you start seeing how the internal politics got them to be expansionist. And I would hope, what I'm really hoping for this series is that it grows up with its audience like Avatar did.
That'd be
That's
awesome.
what I really want for this series.
Yeah, I think people forget how simplistic the first season of Avatar: The Last Airbender really was.
They really do. I mean, Aang, like, what did he do? He snowboarded on penguins.
Yeah, it was, it didn't, like, there wasn't a whole lot of, like, really, big, mature stuff to really deal with in that first season. Like,
no, but it had the lore, which is very important.
Well, when you're building a world, it's very important to introduce the characters, conflict, and rules of said world in a, interesting and engaging way. And I think She-Ra really, overall does that pretty well. Like, the princesses, all, the Captain Planet team that they are pretty cool. They got different abilities and distinct personalities from the start.
Let me just interject. Distinct personalities, but, and this is a knock and it's not, they may be distinct for the show, but they are just straight ripping characters. Like, the Ice Princess is just basically Toph.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you just wanted a Toph character. Congratulations. You just stole her.
So this is where DreamWorks, which of course this is a DreamWorks production, is a little guilty of of just basically creating types of characters, and kind of running with that. And, for this first season, we introduced a lot of characters this first season, and I think this similar thing happened with Voltron, where we got to do more with the, Lance and Hunk and some of those guys, and they get a little more personality. Like, the only ones that get real big character development and get rich personality stuff going on are Adora, Catra, and probably like Glimmer and Bo to a lesser extent.
Yeah.
But what about, Adventure?
Oh, Seahawk? Or
he was the best.
I love Seahawk so much.
Seahawk is highly entertaining.
Man, Seahawk is all like if you think the show with a midriff Hawkeye can't get any gayer, it is like
he is the straightest guy on this show.
Yeah, which like he's
I don't know about that.
Well,
no,
he's so
that's not a joke.
Like he's like what the Macho Man. He's like he's the physical embodiment of the Macho Man song from the from the YMCA, from the Village People. Like the way he is so verbose, and he's like a much more energetic and flamboyant Zap Brannigan. Like
yes,
like that's what really draws me to his character a lot, of just like this. And then like his signature move is to set his own ship on fire.
Yes.
Which he just constantly tries to do, no matter what the situation. His go-to instinct is like, well, I'm going to set my ship on fire and run it into shit.
Well, like, I feel so basic because like I really don't like that my favorite character is a dude from She-Ra. Like, but it's just like, I like how he talks, and I like how into Mermista he is. Like, he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna try to make this work. I keep getting rejected. Well, I'll try again, but not in a creepy way. I'll just ask her out again.
Mermista is actually probably my favorite character of the so done with everything character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even then, she does help the crew a lot, even though she's kind of like,
Well, she's a tsundere.
She's a what?
It's an anime term. She's
tsundere.
Tsundere.
Oh, okay.
I act like I hate you, but I don't actually hate you.
Oh,
trope.
gotcha. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that actually comes into play a little bit later. Yeah. Then we have, of course, like I said, the Ice Princess, whose name I don't remember.
Nora.
Well, my favorite thing is they make fun of some of the names. Like, it's very winking at the 80s fans. It's like, oh, this is Natasa. What's your power? I toss nets.
Yeah,
it's in the name.
The name.
That's what I do. It's my thing.
But they really do cool things with that power. Like,
it is straight up just
Noel
Frosta.
Stevenson, who put this together, like, really did a good job of thinking about what was the base level of these people's powers in the 80s, and how can we expand on them, not to overpower them, but to have an interesting character. Like, it feels like the character drove the powers, not the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the personality types are, distinct, and I love how they kind of work together. Like when they get together in the middle of the show for their first Suicide Squad style mission with, the tech, the one with the tech powers goes up with the hippie Poison Ivy character, basically. And them just trying to like, okay, I gotta try and keep this chick on track so that we can...
Entrapta?
Yeah, Entrapta.
Entrapta and Perfuma.
Like, I don't know how I keep forgetting these names because they are very tied to their power set.
That might actually be part of the reason.
To be fair, I have the Wikipedia page open now, so yeah, I am not ahead of you here.
I have the IMDb.
But yeah, I like that. I like that basically the world has dudes in it, but they're like an endangered species. Like when you run into one, it's kind of like, oh, look, like there you go.
Well, who do we see the most? We see Bo, Seahawk, and then Kyle.
Kyle. I feel bad for Kyle.
Poor Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle seems to get the shaft a lot. But
well, I tell you, do y'all watch a show called Blackish?
I do not. I have heard of it though.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the guy who voices Bo plays a character on Blackish called Junior. It's a live action, and the entire time, his character on Blackish is the exact same character as Bo. So it's like, wow, they got the right voice actor here, because he's playing basically a nerdy Sokka.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but like, it was weird. It was like, and again, I really don't want to do a disservice to this show by referencing all these characters, but just what came to my mind, because it's like I felt like it was a weird situation where they had Sokka and Katara being, I forgot her name, the main person, that is friends with Adora. She has like the purple outfit, Glimmer,
yeah.
And it's like Glimmer is sort of into Bo, but Bo is all about Perfuma.
Yeah, that is a relationship that I can't quite crack. Like, I
don't know, Bo seemed kind of all over the place to me.
Well,
because he seemed, for one episode, really into Perfuma, but in one episode, he was kind of really into Seahawk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, he's excited, and I get that. Like, he's always excited, but then they try to play off the Perfuma thing by like, I wanted all of us to hang out at the dance as friends. And I'm kind of like, you don't ask one person to seemingly to go with me as a friend. You like go as a group. That's not a thing.
Yeah.
Like, so I was confused as to and that's a thing that I'm kind of weird about the show that we'll talk about in a bit, that I'm confused as to what the show wants me to read as a romantic relationship and what they want me to read as a platonic relationship. And I'm
sorry.
And I'm not mad about it. I'm like legitimately confused. I'm like,
there's sometimes mixed messages.
Like, tell me what's going on.
Yeah. I'm like, no, really, like I don't. Like, really don't care.
Like one way or the other.
Like one way or the other. I'm like, I'm really just have a hard time deciphering what you're trying to lead me on here. And, but I did want to, that brings me to one of the relationships I want to really talk about, which I thought was the really interesting part of the show, which was Adora and Catra.
It's probably the selling part of the show.
I think Catra is a very, very interesting, nuanced character, as far as villains go. Like, she's immediately a lot more interesting than Zuko was even in the first episode or the first season of Avatar. In the fact,
I completely agree.
Well, like we said, she's a villain who accepts like, yeah, I'm on the bad guy side. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and not to go into too many spoilers just yet, but there's an episode later where it kind of reveals a lot of their past, and without straight on the nose telling you what the issue is, they do show you exactly like what the nature of their relationship was and why there's a problem with it. Mm-hmm. Adora and Catra were friends, but Adora and Catra were never on the same level. Catra was always treated as because kind of like the Empire in Star Wars, the Horde seemed to be a little racist. And Catra was always treated almost as Adora's pet. Like there was always a like difference in where they met each other, on what level that relationship met each other, and it was never equal. And Catra always, in the back of her mind, realized it, and Adora never did.
Right.
So, yeah, it reminds me a lot of Gamora and Nebula.
Yeah. Like it's a relationship that's fundamentally broken, but only one person really realizes it, and it can't be. Yeah, and it really can't be fixed until both people kind of figure it out.
Yeah, and that requires the hero to take their responsibility for tacitly going along with that power structure. And this is really exciting. It teaches kids like, look, you can be wrong and not know you're wrong. And that's an important lesson to learn.
Yeah, and it's important that we see Adora being kind of the one that just doesn't really realize the relationship. And it's not exactly her fault either from her, because she just didn't have the perspective in order to figure it out. Like,
yeah, she was benefiting from a power structure that she didn't put in place, but that still gives you some responsibility.
Well, it might be the most interesting aspect of privilege that I've ever seen. Like, where it's like, it's very on the nose of like bringing to show like, oh, she had an invisible advantage that she just was not aware of.
Which makes you even realize even more so how angry Catra was when Adora decides to leave. Like, wait. You had it better than me, and then you left anyway? Fuck you.
And
yeah, it's like your bestie at work, and y'all like hate where you work, but you and this other person, y'all are boys. Y'all are non-gender. Y'all are just really good friends, and y'all hang out all the time. And maybe you're one level above them, and you help them out, and then they move on, and you're like, wait a second, I thought we were in this together. They don't tell you beforehand.
It also explains exactly like why Catra goes back and forth of like, I want Adora back into the fold with the Horde. I don't want her back. here, take the sword and get out of here. Like her actions are inconsistent because her feelings on Adora are inconsistent.
Yeah.
She goes back and forth on what she wants. Like, I don't know how to feel. Do I still think of Adora as she was my best friend, but I always kind of had this thing against her. Like, I simultaneously hate her and yet do want her approval and recognition all like at the same time. That's how it's a distinct example of writing a character that takes inconsistent actions but doesn't feel like an inconsistent mess of a character.
No, she's doing what we expect her to do, even if it's not expected.
Even if it's contradictory of what we've seen before, it feels natural to what her character wants in the moment. So
yeah, and the thing that's so frustrating about other media, and look, I am not a writer yet. I'm actually trying to figure out, and I'm studying that part because I would want to be in the future. To me, I don't understand how it's so hard to have characters take consistent actions with what they have shown us or what they are going to show us. Like it maybe it's just the mark of a good writer to make that seem easy, but it's so refreshing when it happens. You're like, oh, she's doing something different than she's done before, but it still makes sense with this character.
I think for that, it's not always one individual's fault as much as it might be a team's fault too.
Yeah, not everyone's writing the whole time through. Like, you get different writers on every episode, and like I watch a lot of CW shows, and they suffer from this a lot. Mm-hmm. They suffer from this a lot, where the writer on that particular episode needs a plot thing to happen.
Okay, yeah.
And they'll let the plot drive the story, or plot drive the characters rather than the characters drive the plot. Right. Because that makes a
lot of sense.
Because it's not exactly that it's hard to do it for a character, it's just hard to do it for all characters.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense.
It's kind of like, giving an example is that we actually play D&D, and to keep our characters consistent is not hard because we are the ones controlling
We're only
them.
in charge of one person.
Right.
Okay.
But if you're controlling a whole campaign, it gets a little bit wishy. We're like, oh shoot, what is that person doing at this moment?
So it's more like, different hands and maybe ends justify the means. Like, I need my story to get here.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, it's a compromise that people make a lot especially in television writing, because you need to get a certain amount of pages out every week. And like I've seen it done great before, and I've seen it done shitty. And so
let me ask you a question real quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you watch the CW shows every week, or do you just binge them?
Right now, actually, last season, now that you mention it, broke me. So I'm only watching Legends of Tomorrow, and I've let them back up on me.
No, that's what's happened to me. Like, I was watching them every week, like a few years ago, but they're hard to get through one by one.
Yeah.
So like, I have 2 seasons of each of them just backed up.
They're just...
I feel like it shows with that, once you let them back up that far, you're never going back.
Yeah, well, especially with the CW shows where they run into another writing problem of repeating themselves. Like, when you watch a season 6 episode of Arrow, it's hard to tell, wait a minute, I saw another episode like this in season 2, almost with this exact same plot line, and exact same lesson learned by a different character, but you're repeating it for this one. And, like, hopefully that's what I think that I'm hoping for the end of Voltron and for this series, is that they have a distinct ending in mind, because it's a lot easier to write and have a better pace going if you have an endpoint in the future, even if it's just an abstract. We're going to end this at some point, rather than just when like it gets when it stops getting the audience that it's getting.
Well, and speaking of an ending, you talk about knowing your endpoint. This show, She-Ra, knew exactly the image it wanted to have be at the climax of its battle.
Oh yeah,
because can we spoil this?
Oh boy. You know what? If from this point on, we're going to go into spoiler section, guys, and we're just going to talk about it. So if you want to watch She-Ra before we go into this, I would highly recommend you do so, because I actually really did enjoy it.
If you want any other reason that we haven't talked about yet, Catra gets into a tux at one point, so there's that.
Catra does get into a tux. Fuck those gender norms. But from this,
she's good in the tux.
So I think everyone looks good in a tux. Like,
that's true.
I think honestly, tuxes are kind of just sexy onto themselves, just non-gender binary. Like, I think tuxes are sexy. But yeah, at this point, like, spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Elliot, go for it. I know exactly what you're going to say. Go for it.
They defeat oppression with the rainbow wave.
Yeah! That was awesome.
It's like, not subtle.
No, no, it wasn't.
I loved the lack of subtlety in that, of just like rainbow power wins the day. I thought that was very fun, and I laughed out loud when it happened.
Just like, oof, man, y'all just trying to piss people off now.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, with that, like I just like I mean, maybe it's because I've been watching stuff that, like, you know, the last season of Voltron I thought was just like the writing on it just took a downturn. Like I said, like the CW stuff really broke me. Dragon Prince was a fucking garbage fire that I don't understand why more people like. It's got like a, what was it, like a 90% of Rotten Tomatoes? Like, it's ridiculous. So I was kind of like, I was just excited that She-Ra has a general plot that is easy to follow with characters that do stuff that makes sense. And I realize it's a low bar, but it's pretty good. Also funny. Like, it's pretty funny at certain points. Well, the humor works. As far as things that don't work for me, on the small scale, I don't like that the horse talks.
Yeah, that fucked me up too.
I don't know why. I really can't tell you why it bothers me. It just does. And I haven't figured it out yet. Like, did that bother you at all, Elliot, with the horse? Is that like a step too far for you? I
don't know if it didn't bother me, but only because it was such a left turn that it was fun for me. Like, he's like, I am named Swiftwind after the swift winds of the revolution. Mm-hmm. And they're like, sure, man, cool. You just came home from college from your first semester and now you're woke. Congratulations.
It reminded me of the robot in the Solo film. Like, what's her name?
The best character in the Solo film.
Oh, I disagree. But the
oh no, the character that if they had made what she was saying relevant would have given it a better plot. I'm going to put it that way.
Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah, I could agree with that. I feel like that.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, I feel like that's a thing that also happens with, like, it's like the droids. If they're distinct personalities and are basically slaves, then I feel like that's a darker universe than you want.
Yeah.
Like, and also the kind of the same thing with the horses here. I'm like, I don't know if we should be giving the horses sentience.
The horse and that one gecko. Or whatever it was. There was a lizard she turned to.
Well, I love that there's a power in the sword that just gives things wings
and sentience
and unicorn horns or whatever. Like, I'm like, what? There's just a Pegasus making power? Like, that. Also, like, maybe another small complaint is that the She-Ra powers, while not defined by design, also kind of come off as a little Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah.
At some points, but not to a huge extent.
But to be fair, there's so much less Deus Ex Machina than what we used to be. Like, they used to be able to do whatever the fuck they wanted to do.
Yes, like, in regards to the original show, it is, there's a hard structure rules, basically. Also, there's a lot less, I love that there's a lot less magic, solutions in this show than there is in Voltron, where they just seem to win via friendship a lot. Like,
yeah, they even make fun of it at one point. Frosta, the Ice Princess, says, "We did something together as friends."
Yeah. It's like we did it together, and that was the thing. Also, I love that, like my jokes every once in a while would come true of like the hippies didn't really want to fight back. And then I'm like, wait, don't you have, like, plant powers? Like, activate your poison ivy abilities and fuck some shit up. And then suddenly she becomes poison ivy and really becomes one of the more powerful members of the crew.
Yeah, I just wish they could think about it a little bit deeper. It's like, I'm a longtime X-Men fan, and Iceman was always sort of he had nerfed himself because he knew he could become too powerful. And the White Queen at one point takes over his head and really unlocks his powers. And that leads to him realizing that he can freeze the water in your cells. And so he's an Omega level mutant. He just never knew it. And it's like, with the powers these people have, if you really started thinking about it, they could wreck the Horde pretty easily.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing that is all the problems I have are just small little things, and one of them, like one of the ones that doesn't really matter but kind of bugs me, is that the princesses are shown to be so powerful and competent, it's hard to realize why they kind of just gave up on the resistance, because one guy of them kind of died, and especially brought up in the suicide mission where it looks like Entrapta dies.
Mm.
And suddenly everyone's kind of like, man, I can't believe one of us actually died. And it read to me, and I know this wasn't intentional, it read to me like, oh, it doesn't matter when one of our mindless, like whenever the poor soldiers die, but one of our upper echelon died, oh no, now it's a problem and I don't want to play anymore.
It is actually kind of hard to not read it that way.
Well, and I'm like, oh, because now suddenly the stakes are real for you, now you don't want to play anymore? Fuck you guys.
Well, they actually even show that multiple times with like Mermista and Frosta kind of see it, where it's just like, I was like, oh, we're not getting involved in this. Why not? Because we're not directly affected yet. Like, oh, so you're assholes.
But they were involved in one point. There was a Princess Alliance. There's like a whole Lord of the Rings table where everyone sat at. Mm-hmm. And apparently because one, like the king of the, Glimmer's dad died, like, apparently everyone just kind of lost their nerve and was like, well, maybe this alliance isn't for us. And I was like, you guys give up real easy. Like, I don't understand. Like,
well, I have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
As somebody who, I'll put it this way, shall we say, there's a workplace that I know of that is hard to work at. I'll put it that way.
Sure.
And what happens is when you're at a place, and so I maybe this is just me projecting my life onto it, but I feel like when you're under trauma and you're under pressure, a lot of your response can be to sort of bunker up and just take care of what you can take care of, and solving the problem feels too big. You can actually doubt your own power. And that's what I sort of took the princesses as doing, is like, somebody dies, they're like, look, I just want to protect me and mine. Y'all can go fuck yourselves. I'm going to do my thing. And in the process, they don't realize how powerful they are. And sort of the point of the series to me is reminding them of, hey, we can really do more together. Like, the Horde wouldn't stand a chance if they got their shit together.
Yeah.
Because all they're trying to do is survive.
Mm-hmm. Like,
but if they wanted to win, they could actually win.
No, yeah, and I get that, and the mission they go on pretty much shows that, like, how powerful they are together, how, like, they all seem to have, like, at least until later where She-Ra gets really overpowered, they all seem to have a power level that's like on measure of what She-Ra can do.
Well, even their mission didn't go very well. Like, they kind of fucked up multiple times, and they're still strong enough that, like, one of them, it looks like she died, and she doesn't even really.
Yeah. Like, and it's, like and then they jump back on the Resistance a lot because they need to by the end, and it's again, not huge. Like, it's not a big thing that really took me out of it, but it did kind of like, I wish they had developed a little bit better of a reason for them to quit the Resistance, or, really, find a way to make them look a little more sympathetic in that moment than because they ended up coming off as really arrogant to me, of just like, yeah. And I wish it read a little differently, I guess, but Elliot, was there anything with you that didn't really gel that you might have a problem with?
Well, I mean, the only thing I really wish that, I know it's aimed towards kids, but it needed a little bit more internal consistency for me.
Mm-hmm.
Just a bit more, not much, but you can't halfway dabble into all the lore they're doing and then say, well, we're a kid show, when you sort of don't go through with it. I wish there would have been more dedication to really keeping things straight. Like, I really enjoyed it, don't get me wrong, but I wish there was just a little bit more adherence to, hey, we're going to explain this world, and we're going to explain it in every episode. Like, it felt like a few episodes they sort of took a break.
Yeah, I can feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the only thing that I consider a big problem that actually hindered my enjoyment of the show overall and we're gonna get into it here. Same thing kind of with Voltron, but basically pseudo representation, which and it's this one's hard for me because it's not like egregious, and it's not like they in the last season of Voltron where they introduced a gay character and fridged him right away, which was especially insulting. But there is some stuff here where I feel like we're playing both sides, and there's some having your cake and trying to eat it too going on.
Well, I mean, there's that whole, like, Natasha and Spinnerella, whatever her name is.
Right, so those are two princesses that show up early. They're part of the resistance, so there's no need to recruit them.
But there's also a joke saying, we don't even know what they do.
Yeah, we don't know what they do, and then they show up at the very end, and then one of them calls the other honey, and you're supposed to read that they're a gay couple. Which I do. I did read that. It's not like I missed it or anything. But also, they're the only princesses that show up in the beginning and then the end, and don't get a recruitment mission, don't go on the suicide mission, basically don't do anything at all, and only show up to use their powers, and are plot devices and not characters. And I was kind of like, oh, that was a weird decision, but, No,
you're completely right. Like, I didn't even think about that, because it's something that bothered me that I didn't know how to characterize until you said it. Like, it's like they just say, hey, here are our gay characters, but here are overtly gay characters, but we're gonna sit them to the side.
It feels very checkboxy. You're like, whoop, we got that one off. Yeah.
And it's hard for me to read because, like, when you have two characters so obviously not part of the group, they're so other, they're so on the side, and what's different about them? That they're supposed to be read as gay. That's the only thing I know about them. So it's hard for me not to infer that that's the reason they're not in the show a lot.
No, I completely agree. Like, there's no other reason from the plot, because you would think if they were part of the Alliance, you would want those princesses telling them, hey, I'm a part of the Alliance, you should be a part of the Alliance too.
Yeah. Like, there's every plot reason to have them be part of the team the whole time, and they don't even bother trying to make up an excuse for why they're not there.
No, they show up in the first episode, and they don't show up again until, like, the last one.
Also, there's confusing animation stuff. Mermista has a moment where she first sees She-Ra, and she blushes.
You wanna fuck her.
And for those of you who watch a lot of animation, a blush of that type normally indicates when a character is embarrassed, and if it's because of meeting a character like that for the first time, it's an indication of basically what a child show would read as sexually attracted to somebody else. Like, that's what happened that's what tipped me off to what they were doing in Legend of Korra early, because that's an animation rule. That screams to me that someone wanted it to read that way, and they wanted to get it past the producers. That's an animator trying to get it past somebody.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I am not mad at the people who worked on this show. I am upset at DreamWorks.
I'm kind of starting to...
feels like...
I'm getting the feeling that DreamWorks is the common denominator here.
It's getting that way.
Because it's the same thing that happened with fucking Voltron, and it's not Netflix's deal. Netflix made Sense8 the second gayest show on TV, right behind Steven Universe, and the only thing that is consistent with this is the DreamWorks production side of it. And because Mermista, while she has that moment of embarrassment, like, oh shit, I might be into She-Ra, never comes up again. Never.
In fact, she gets with Seahawk.
And it's kind of hard to, like, wait, are we supposed to read the Seahawk and her relationship as romantic or platonic? I think I
think it's straight romantic.
I thought I leaned on more platonic, but I can't blame you for reading it the other way.
Yeah, I could honestly see it both ways.
Like,
no, I didn't read it at all as platonic. I mean, I didn't read it at all as romantic until the last episode.
Right.
Because she starts, like, just giving him more the time of day, and she picked him up to go and fight. And it's just like, that to me reads as romantic, especially for a classic tsundere.
Right. And, like, I thought that, because you can get a whole episode of Mermista only being attracted to She-Ra and not Adora.
Yeah.
Like, that's a whole Black Cat Spider-Man thing. And I'm like, if you can't get a whole episode's worth of content out of that, you're just not, you don't know how to write it. You don't know how to write TV. Like, so it's not like there's not places to go with it. Like, and as far as it being a kid's show, well, yeah, so is Steven Universe, and they get much more explicit, and like it just feels a little weird, and I feel like even just 5 years ago, this show would be so progressive. Like, it would have been the gayest show on TV. Like,
I don't think so. I disagree. Like, I see what you're saying. Like, but these are different studios, and like, I think this is actually a step along the way. Like, it's gonna take. This is sort of the last area that even people who think they're progressive, are really sensitive to. Like, there was a thing that happened in the middle of the Macy's Day Thanksgiving Parade.
Oh, right.
And people lost their shit because there was two women kissing. Mm-hmm. Because it's the last step towards completely and utterly normalizing gay people in our culture, which I think is great. Don't get me wrong. But to them, like, this is the last hurdle. That's why Korra was so significant. That's why even these, which are imperfect, I agree with you, when it does get to the point where you can just have a same-sex relationship and people are still going to notice, but they do it anyway, that's going to be amazing. And I think in retrospect, people are going to start looking at Voltron in this series and being like, they did as much as they could.
Well, maybe when we get to know more about behind the production side of it. And I think the problem is with stuff like Korra that, that really tried. And of course, Steven Universe just busting the door down. And and Steven Universe always feels 5 years ahead of the time anyway.
Exactly.
But for me, this sort of representation just isn't like enough anymore. It doesn't get me excited, and it.
No, and I agree with you. Like, you and I, we're progressive people,
right?
But we're at the other end of the average. Mm-hmm. Like, you got to take into account. Say some kid is watching Netflix and they live in a very conservative household in a very conservative state, and they're enjoying it. They're having a good time. And then all of a sudden, Mr. and She-Ra start kissing, and all of a sudden, DreamWorks got calls coming in. Mm-hmm. This is, I think they should deal with those calls. I don't think you should bow down to hate, but that's a business decision that I really hope they sort of just grow some guts and just start making the decision for what makes the most sense.
Sure. Well, I mean,
at the very least in this one, they didn't kill a gay character.
Yeah,
so that's a step.
And like, I agree with that to a certain, and I kind of get the mentality behind it. I just feel like if you make something easy to ignore for people, then people will ignore it, especially if they choose to do so. And I don't think it changes a lot of minds. Or I can't tell you how much I wish there was just one. They were solid on one of these. Like I really wish that the net tosser and what's the other name? Like, I can't even remember.
Spinnerella?
Yeah, I wish they were in the series more, or
they should have been,
and not felt so shunted off to the side, or I wish they would come down as one of the characters feeling like it is a straight no, it's straight romantic. Like, I don't need it to be absolutely everywhere, but one thing you can't ignore would have been pretty cool. I especially thought I
think they should have it.
I think, especially when it comes to Adora and Catra, where I was confused a lot of the time, because at first I read it as platonic like the whole time, and then suddenly they'll do shit like the dance episode where they'll put Catra in the tux and then have her dipping Adora in in the slow dance, and I was like, wait a minute, am I supposed to be reading this as romantic? And then they'll
see. I feel. Oh, sorry.
No, go for it.
I see, and look, I am not against showing gay relationships on TV, and don't get me wrong, but I feel like having Catra and Adora be romantically involved, I think that diminishes the relationship in terms of they grew up like sisters,
right?
Like,
and I agree with you. I actually like the platonic version of it. Like, it's complex enough without the romantic entanglement. I don't think the romantic entanglement exactly diminishes it, but I think it is. For me, it was fine how it was, but then it's like the show. I can't tell, because it's like, wait a minute, it's hard for me to not tell. Like, are you trying to get points here while not still having them gay? because
it did feel like that. It felt like, hey, we want to make some stuff for Twitter.
Yeah.
Like, and it showed up everywhere.
It did. And it was because it was kind of a cool moment. And if I were to see that, still out of context, I would think only one thing is like, wow, what a cute couple.
Yep.
And it's kind of
one in a tux.
And I'm like, I don't know if I'm down with you guys trying to tease that if that's not your intention. You're just trying to get cred off of it. And
isn't that called queer baiting, I think?
Yeah. Like that one felt like baity kind of to me. Like, and then a lot of these were a little more ambiguous to where I was having a hard time telling. That one felt like, okay, I think you guys have crossed the line here. I'm not sure if like
it's definitely getting there.
Unless the plan is to reveal it later and have it be like, oh, that was a big thing, is that they are now like that there was a romantic relationship, but it's DreamWorks and I highly doubt it. But we've been talking about this for a while, so maybe just wrap up some final thoughts stuff here. I think the show is pretty solid. While I wish the representation was a little more distinct, because it's not like it's not exactly, it's like it's not there, but it's there and not there. It's Schrodinger's representation, and I don't know how to feel about it. But overall, story structure is fine. I'm definitely going to watch season 2. Like, I'm very curious as to how it goes. I hope that it gets an animation, the budget gets a little bit of an uptick.
Well, it's a DreamWorks show on Netflix. So.
Yeah, well, it's not like Voltron yet, where they're just doing stills to save budget yet. But it's not like it's mind blowing visuals or anything. But I had a good time with it. Elliot, what'd you think?
I had a good time with it. It has a bit of the Netflix problem. It gets a little dull towards the middle. Mm-hmm. But you can power on through that. And if you're watching this, if you're over 25, like, keep in mind, and this is not a cop-out, it's really written for about a 12-year-old audience. So give it a little bit of a curve. Don't expect too much nuance in this season. And just remember that shows that you may have loved, like Avatar, started out pretty basic. And give it a chance to grow on you. Mm-hmm. So, I really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it.
Travis, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I feel very similarly, where I enjoyed this quite thoroughly. I like what they set up for the world, but I do kind of hope they go a little bit more into the lore than they did now. Because this one, they basically set up like, the first episode, Bo goes like, I wish I were a princess. I'm like, wait, can you become a princess? Is that something someone can become? Like, they leave a lot of open-ended questions for how this world actually functions and what is actually going on with the overarching plot. Whereas this season very much felt focused on, Adora and her storyline and her trying to figure out, which nothing wrong with that. I just hope that similar to Avatar, it will learn to grow and explore its whole universe.
Sure. Ooh, I also want to mention, speaking of Bo and wanting to become a princess, I like the, where they do good is the destruction of gender norms and, basically the evil horde is run by one of the 7 dudes it seems to be in the universe. And Bo is just a fanboy for the princesses, and that's kind of cool. Also, cool body type representation. Like, almost everybody has a distinct different body type style. Yeah. Which I rarely ever see in animation or something like that. Like, you got the big bulkier Scorpia on the other side.
Scorpion Zarya.
Mm-hmm. You got,
You're not wrong.
Scorpion, yeah, it's pretty obvious. And then, Glimmer is a little, more on the plus size than most people, but kind of in that, in between state as well. And I thought that was interesting. And, she herself is much more of a Amazonian type deal than like you might think. Like, she's very Wonder Woman-esque, but like that's kind of her character, really. Right. Is like the transformation and everything. So I liked that. And yeah, I had a really good time. If I were to rate it, I guess like maybe 3.5 to 4 out of 5. I think it's really good, really solid. And we'll see how it goes. But Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Elliot. It was a pleasure having you on. Would you like to tell people where they can find you and your content, or find you online?
Well, right now, apparently on Netflix and Kill, but from time to time, I will be on One of Us. I should be back more on the internet towards, let's say, May of next year. The audience has no reason to know this, but my wife is 7 months pregnant, so that's why I haven't been on many things.
Oh, I see. Gotcha. And you got. Do you have your own Princess of Power waiting for it, or Prince of Power, I should say?
You mean like a name?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We have. So I'm naming him after my dad. His name's going to be Lionel, and then his middle name's going to be after Superman, so Clark.
Oh, okay. At first, I know it's because I'm thinking of animation, but I for sure thought he said Lion-O. Like,
oh, that's the added benefit. It's sort of a double. I get to go Lion-O, but Lion-O.
Thundercats, oh. That's great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. If you'd like to, check out our previous content, you can do so on our iTunes feed, or you can check out our Netflix and Kill. As this has gone up, I'm as we speak, I am trying to upload the Netflix and Kill for Hold the Dark that we did with Elliot. So hopefully that is up at the time this is going up. This is already up as well. So you can check that out in its own iTunes feed at Netflix and Kill. And check out some of our previous DreamWorks Netflix reviews for Voltron and all that stuff. And just say hi to us on our social media at UGO Podcast or on our Facebook page. With that, we're going to get on out of here. We are on a Pause Geek Out, and